both parties touched on, and that was the shooter's arguably troubling drawings. Let's hear first from the defendant who brought them up on direct, then we'll compare that to the cross-examination.
Okay, I want to go to Tuesday the 30th, okay?
Okay.
Do you remember Tuesday the 30th?
I do.
And that day, we saw an exhibit of you going into work. That happened?
Yes.
And we heard lots of testimony already about you getting a call from Sean Hopkins.
Correct. He left
Messages where you thought everything was fine that Tuesday morning. Is that how you felt?
Yeah.
Okay. So when you got that math paper texted to you, do you recall saying anything to Ethan on the phone, on speaker?
Yeah, I asked him why he did that.
Okay. What were you thinking at that point?
I was actually kind of angry because I thought he did that in like defiance of us yelling him about missing assignments, and here he is drawing pictures on an empty assignment page in geometry.
So you felt like it was specifically him sending you a message about the night before?
Yeah.
Is it fair to say you took it personally?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, so what did you do?
I had asked Mr. Hopkins if he had the original, and then he sent it to my email, which then I opened up and looked at it, and was like, okay.
What did you think when you saw that?
I was a little concerned. I was pretty concerned. He had asked for a parent to come to the school to meet with them, and at this time I tried calling my husband to see if he could go because he was out in the area working, and I couldn't get a hold of him, so I decided to go to the school. On the way to the school, he finally called me back and he met me at the school, so we went together.
Okay, and when you went into the school, what did you think was happening?
I thought he was going to get in trouble for what he drew on his assignment. I thought I was going to get suspended. I was expecting a disciplinary meeting.
Okay, how did you feel about what you saw on that paper?
I felt concerned after seeing that.
Okay, and so we saw that you sent pictures of the math papers to Kira, to Andy, to Brian. It's fair to say you sent them around to people.
I did.
Okay, and to all those people, we've already seen all the exhibits. You expressed that concern.
Correct.
Okay.
So Sean Hopkins called you at 9:24 in the morning, correct?
Correct.
Okay. You called him back at 9:27.
Correct.
You had a 5-minute phone call.
Correct.
And then in that phone call, he texted you the picture with it was drawn out. Then he emailed you this original picture.
Yeah, he texted me the modified one, and then later emailed me this one.
Later is at 9:32.
Yeah, after I asked him for it.
You looked at it.
I did.
Okay. You told us yesterday you found it, I think your quote was, a little concerning. What struck you about this?
Originally, when I saw the modified one, I was kind of angry at my son because we just talked about his missing assignments in geometry and his E the night before. Then when I got this one and opened it, it was concerning. I honestly thought the guy on there was a poor drawing of Batman, the way the thing and the cat. I thought it was a cape. I didn't know.
You thought that was a cape?
I did. I didn't look at that closely.
What did you think of the gun?
I thought it was a gun.
Yeah. What about the fact that it is identical to the gun that you got him for Christmas a couple days before?
I mean, honestly, it looks like a gun to me. I didn't even notice.
Well, you took a picture of the gun. You posted it on Instagram. You know what it looks like.
I do, but I didn't analyze it.
You saw Special Agent Brandon's testimony. He described how it's identical. And you told us yesterday how your son was a good drawer.
He's a very good drawer.
Okay. What about the thoughts won't stop, help me? Did that ring out to you?
Yes, that was what was concerning to me.
Blood everywhere, and there's a bullet. And actually, you were the one who bought the bullets on November the 27th.
Correct.
You later came to learn that those bullets were used in the shooting.
I did.
Okay. So you said yesterday it was a little concerning, yet you told your husband, emergency in all caps.
Correct. That's why I left to go to the school, and I texted him.
And he wrote back, my God, WTF.
Correct.
And then you told him he was distraught about last night.
Correct.
Distraught's an intentional word you chose.
Correct.
It's not sad. It's not a little anxious about school or his future. It's not talking about a video game. Distraught has a meaning.
Correct.
And you chose that word to send to him.
Correct.
So you went to that meeting, and this was November the 30th of 2021. And at that point, you'll agree with me that you knew prior to that day, the November 26th purchase day, that your son was wanting to get a 9mm. That's what you said yesterday.
Yes, I knew that they were talking about getting one because they had rented it in the past.
And you knew that he had shot one in the past.
Yeah.
Okay. And you knew that a 9mm is significantly more powerful than a .22.
I did not know that until I actually shot it.
Okay. Well, your dad took your son with James to the shooting range when they visited in July of 2021.
Correct.
And they talked about how powerful the 9mm was because they rented one then.
Okay. I don't know if
Yes or no?
I don't know if I was part of that conversation, but if it was, it didn't register to me.
So under cross-examination there, that is the defendant, Jennifer Crumbley, and the conversation focuses on what is really, I think, key to this case, and that is what was her knowledge of her son's propensity, if any, for violence, to use the gun they just got for him, and to maybe ignore signs that they were headed for trouble. And I think it's interesting to look at both sides, the defense and the prosecution. So to help me do that, I have Katherine Lizardo here. She is a trial attorney in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Always good to have her. And Philip Hamilton is in studio with me today, a criminal defense attorney from the city here. So let me start with you, Philip, because you're here. And, Jennifer, Katherine can't reach me. So I'm thinking about this case in terms of defense versus prosecution. The defense wants you to believe this is just a mom, doing the best she can with a teenager. And so they give you this long view of how that plays out as a mom. Prosecution, on the other hand, is like, look at this finite period of time, because that was all hell breaking loose. They should have known. How do you like those arguments? Which one do you think is most persuasive?
Here's the interesting thing. They're both rational and they're both logical, right? I think that when you put that before a jury who has to decide whether or not we're discussing guilt beyond a reasonable doubt, if we're talking about the prosecution strategy, the defense's strategy somewhat being tantamount to equal, it makes things a little bit difficult for the prosecution, right? Because where you essentially have a tie, the jury legally technically has to go with not guilty. I think the defense is, in terms of what the defense is putting forward, is, when I say rational, what I'm saying is, particularly from a parent's standpoint, they are just breaking down look, I'm in my son's life. It's not like I'm just leaving him in his room all the time. I don't know what's going on. I am a concerned parent. When he's messing up with his grades, we're punishing him. We're taking things away from him, including the gun, right? We're not letting him go to the shooting range. We are discussing with him our disappointment with him. She's painting the picture as a concerned, involved parent, right? Which is certainly undercutting a lot of the theory of the prosecution that you're not paying attention to your kid, that these obvious warning signs are in front of you and you're doing absolutely nothing, right? You're inattentive to your kid. And it's that disregard that led to what should have easily been seen, that your son is a danger, right? That the mental health issues with which you decided in lieu of to get him a gun, right? These are all things that point directly to your indifference and why all these kids ended up dead. But she's saying, hey, I'm an involved mom. And I think her defense on the stand didn't come across choreographed. It didn't come across orchestrated. Interestingly, and maybe somewhat surprisingly, it kind of came across organic and natural. I think that plays well for the defense.
It certainly wasn't overly emotional, for better or worse. Katherine, the jury is made up of 17, that's 12 in the box and 5 alts. We don't know what the breakdown is, but 10 of them are women, 7 are men. Who do you want on your jury for this case?
Well, definitely the women, especially moms. I agree with Philip that the jury will be obviously allowed to use their common sense and common experiences. And however many are parents there, especially moms, they're listening to her testimony and thinking, would I have done that? Should I have done that? Especially questions and cross-examinations about, did you try to look at his phone and check what he uses in his phone, what his text messages are? I'm sure those jurors are thinking, am I doing that for my kids? Should I be doing that? And there's that, that danger of trying to invade your child's privacy while giving them the trust and security that they need at such a young age as well. So those jurors have to balance that all out. And yes, she did not come across overly emotional, I agree, but she seems to be matter of fact with her testimony, and maybe that's just how she is. That's why the defense talked about that head on by saying about her nerves, that her nerves makes her talk that way.
Let me get a quick answer from each of you on this. Philip, let me start with you. What is the one key thing you want the jury to resonate with if you're the prosecution? The one item.
The gun, the drawings, the notice that mother, father were on, right? And ultimately just the disregard to not have the sense of urgency to immediately pull
A little too
Ethan out of school.
lackadaisical, maybe.
A little lackadaisical.
Katherine, if you're the defense, what is the one issue that you're pounding on with this jury in closings?
That time that they had a meeting with the school counselor, that it wasn't really insisted that we take him home, and that there was a really big concern.
Okay, we're waiting for them to get back into court in this Crumbley case. The sides have rested, so they're kind of deciding, how do we schedule the closings? Is everybody ready? Is there going to be a rebuttal by the prosecution? Keeping my eye on the courtroom, they have a lovely seal. That's all we see at the moment, which means they're still figuring it out. We're going to take a break, come back more on the other side. This is Law and Crime.